Holly Furfer here with your chronological look at the biggest events and stories of the day. From President Trump hosting the Saudi Crown Prince at the White House to the House of Representatives voting to release the so-called Epstein files.
The president posting on social media saying, quote, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax. The president's comments coming after he and House Speaker Mike Johnson went to great lengths to prevent the vote from happening.
Just release them, right?
The pressure is mounting after that trove of over 20,000 emails and other Epstein documents put Trump's relationship with the convicted sex offender in a new light.
Trump has turned on one of his most vocal supporters in Congress for signing onto the petition and refusing to get off.
I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women.
President Trump, who campaigned on releasing the files himself and could without this bill, calls it a Democrat hoax.
They are afraid that people will be embarrassed. Well, that's the whole point here.
Bro, the Epstein files.
I heard there's no files. I heard it's a hoax. And then all of a sudden, he's going to release the files. Well, I thought there was no files.
Man.
He wants an investigation now.
What do the American people want to know? They want to know who else visited Epstein's Island, who raped young girls, who abused young girls, who are the other people who were involved.
Just how ridiculous it is that Trump wants to take credit for the release of the Epstein files while at the same time calling it a hoax.
Yeah.
The ridiculous notion that they will continue to follow the law and be maximum transparent. The head of the FBI has already claimed that they released everything they could. And she has done nothing but be essentially an acolyte and an instrument. She's acting like his personal lawyer.
The House GOP, backed by President Trump's endorsement, is moving quickly to pass the bill with committee chairs Jim Jordan and James Comer expecting a near-unanimous Republican support. President Trump wants Republicans to put the Epstein files in the rear-view mirror and refocus on affordability ahead of the 2026 midterms.
He's been very clear, and he has nothing to hide, and that's why he's endorsed the vote today.
For survivors of Epstein's abuse, a moment of victory.
We're ready for the next step, and we're ready to finally release the file.
We are closer to seeing what's in the Justice Department's files on Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender and alleged sex trafficker of minors. The House voted 427-1 today to force the department to release them.
Tonight, a nearly unanimous vote in the House.
The yeas are 427, the nays are 1.
An extraordinary moment as dozens of Jeffrey Epstein's victims watched and cheered in the gallery.
Just one member of Congress, a Republican named Clay Higgins, was a no vote on this legislation. When the bill passed, Democrats turned around to applaud the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, who shouted back at everyone, "Thank you."
Today, something did. This afternoon, the House voted to release the Epstein files. That is the reaction of people who are not in the files.
And now some big questions remain on why the Democrats, who were largely silent on Epstein while former President Joe Biden was in power, are now making this issue priority number one.
He was simply unable to bully and browbeat and cow congressional Republicans into just doing what he wants.
Today, with this vote, we are finally putting these victims and these survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and the cabal of rich, powerful elites that expands not just here in the United States of America, but to other countries as well. We're putting them last. And that is exactly what Americans want.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson kept the House adjourned for nearly 2 months. In part, we think, so he could avoid swearing in Democratic Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva, who would be the final deciding vote on that discharge petition. When that plan failed, Trump personally called Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert of Colorado, one of 4 Republicans on the petition, to try to pressure her to vote no on the discharge petition, to take her name off. When that didn't work, Boebert was summoned to the Situation Room with the head of DOJ and FBI for a kind of bad cop routine.
But are the Democrats and a few Republicans who've turned this into a crusade
Are they doing it for the right reasons?
The reason we are in this position where Congress unanimously, again, accepting Clay Higgins, said we want transparency is because Trump's own people, the MAGA base, talked to their representatives and said, we want transparency, we want the truth. When Marjorie Taylor Greene went home to Georgia for those 40-odd days, she got calls from her constituents saying, stand strong, don't cave. Same with Lauren Boebert, same with Nancy Mace.
Jenna Lisa Jones was one of several women who shared her story on Capitol Hill.
This was me at 14 years old. I was a child.
Recounting when she was introduced to Epstein at his Palm Beach home more than 2 decades ago.
Why were they silent when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Alejandro Mayorkas threw the border open? That was a 4-year gift to the human trafficking cartels.
MAGA understands victimhood, and we often malign the sort of grievance victimhood part of this game, but they are very acutely attuned to the dynamic between victim and predator, to a rigged system. They are not going to give up on this, and the rest of the American public understands this as well.
Today, something happened to Trump that has never happened before. He lost every single Republican but one in the entire House and the entire Senate on something he had forbidden them to do.
It was a vote President Trump tried to prevent for weeks, assisted by House Speaker Mike Johnson, who kept the House out of session for 54 days, effectively stalling it.
Trump arrested him. Trump put him in prison. Bush arrested him. Democrats hang out with the guy and then take his money.
They were doing anything they could. I've said the third most powerful person in the world is a dead pedophile who convinced Mike Johnson to let Congress, tell Congress to go home because they were so afraid of a vote. He has denied democracy. He wouldn't seat a duly elected representative because he was worried that she was going to be the 183rd vote or whatever it is.
Vote, yeah.
They have done everything possible to try and delay the release of this, and it has done nothing but create this stench of guilt around the presidency.
Let's do the math. I'm with Jesse. Who do you think is going to get hammered by this more, Trump or the Dems? If anything bad would happen to Trump, it would have happened by now. They threw everything at him. They tried to kill him.
President Trump has nothing to do with it. He has said himself he has nothing to hide.
He said it himself. Is that not enough for you people? He's never misled us before. This, nothing to hide. He wrote Jeffrey Epstein a whole goddamn birthday letter with a drawing on it about their wonderful secrets. That to me sounds like something to hide.
You got kicked out of the club and you had information. Wouldn't you have released it a long time ago? You had leverage on Donald Trump. He was being begged by journalists to release everything he had.
It is an incredible moment. After months of effort, Trump's effort to stop this, here we are.
What it demonstrates more than anything, Yasmin, is that this is overwhelmingly popular with the American people.
Yeah.
The American people believe that there needs to be transparency around the Epstein controversy. They are craving it. They are demanding it. And it doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, black, white, male, female, across the board. This is a popular decision.
And it marks a reversal from President Trump, who tried to dissuade some GOP lawmakers from supporting the measure, including conservative ally Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And some Republicans sounding skeptical that the files will be released.
Do you take the president at his word when he says he's going to sign this bill? And do you have confidence that these files will actually be released?
I only take people's actions seriously. No longer words.
She is right to distrust Donald Trump. I'm worried that Donald Trump behind the scenes is trying, working on these files to try to make them look less bad in these final moments.
There's this other question, whether you believe the Epstein files actually will come out and see the light of day after all of this. Do you?
But the president can release the files right now. He did not even need a bill, and he's got to end this White House cover-up.
So I think what you're going to see is this drip, drip, splat. Plaskin, Larry Summers, Hakeem Jeffries. Who's next? Schumer? I don't know. But you're going to start seeing these things happening, and I am going to be watching how the media covers that.
I think this is a really big moment, and not just for the reasons we think that it might implicate or embarrass the president or other people. I think this is that Caesar moment in Planet of the Apes where he says no and it inspires a revolution and reconfigures the social order.
But after this, the full files still might not get released. The bill has some major loopholes. Before Trump signed the bill, Attorney General Pam Bondi was asked about the DOJ releasing the complete files. She didn't exactly give a straight answer. What a shock from Bondi. Let's listen.
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims.
When you say follow the law, Madam Attorney General, do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law. The law passed both chambers last evening. It has not yet been signed, but we will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
But this just goes to show you how desperate, how unhinged the Democratic Party has become. Democrats, they should be ashamed. Instead, after this blows over, they're just going to move on to the next unhinged smear campaign, one after another.
I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein.
Thousands of pages of documents have already been released, including email exchanges mentioning the president. There were also separate conversations between Epstein and former Democratic Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, who announced he would step back from public activities.
But when you read these emails, you're like, this is a vibe.
Yeah.
These people.
What would you call the vibe? What is it? Douche? Nozzle?
No. The word is entitled.
Yeah.
They feel like they are entitled to an entirely. It comes back to this one statement I love. Mm-hmm. These people think that they are protected by the law but not bound by it, and that the rest of us are bound by the law but not protected by it.
The Epstein release has been a roller coaster. Is the ride over? We don't know. We know Democrats think it'll damage the president, but now it's backfiring on them big time. Remember, Epstein was a Democrat. He was a Democrat donor, and he hung out with Democrats and the liberal media at all of his homes.
To the President of the United States of America, who is not here today, I want to send a clear message to you. While I do understand that your position has changed on the Epstein files, and I'm grateful that you have pledged to sign this bill, I can't help to be skeptical of what the agenda is. So with that being said, I want to relay this message to you. I am traumatized. I am not stupid. I am traumatized. I am not stupid. You have put us through so much stress, the lockdowns, the halt of these procedures that were supposed to have happened 50 days ago. The Adelita Grijalva who waited to get sworn in and then get upset when your own party goes against you because what is being done is wrong. It's not right. For your own self-serving purposes, this is America. This is land of the free. Land of the free. In 1863, we have a woman on top of the Capitol building represent freedom. I do not feel free today. I don't know if the women behind me feel free today. So I am begging every member of Congress, every representative, to step up and choose the chaos, choose the survivors, choose the children, protect the children, all children. You protect all of us equally.
Look, the president has spent the last few months doing everything that he could to stop the Epstein files from being released. There's a subpoena our committee has for the files. DOJ has slow walked that. He continues to try to lobby members of his own party to stop the release of the files. And all of that was put to rest over these last few days.
First, the House. Now, the Senate. Voting as soon as tonight, possibly, on the Epstein files and releasing them. As lawmakers agree, it is time to see everything that the Justice Department has.
Let's together push the president to release these files immediately. They've had plenty of time to redact the names. Let's see no further administrative delays or cleverness, and let the chips fall where they may.
Capitol Hill, the Senate has just taken up this vote. This is a big development. Moved rather quickly. CNN's Manu Raju is coming up with what just played out next.
Just a few days ago, it seemed like it was dead on arrival in the United States Senate, but now it is on its way to the president's desk in a remarkable turnaround in an extremely fast move here. The Senate has essentially green-lighted this bill to be approved as soon as tonight and be sent to the president's desk.
The Senate has passed the bill under unanimous.
should just have a moment of celebration.
A week ago in the Situation Room, he has a congresswoman, a Republican congresswoman there, trying to persuade her, along with a small group, handful of other Republicans, not to allow this thing to come to a vote. And here we are now with 427 to 1 in the House, unanimous consent in the Senate, it going to the president's desk.
And Alex, there are wide-ranging concerns about Jeffrey Epstein, not only the girls, but also his finances. Where did he get his money? I understand subpoenas have already been issued.
Yes, in just the last couple of minutes, there were some new subpoenas issued.
Today's Democrats in Congress, they're just a party of anger and hate. They hate Donald J. Trump, and you see it in every one of their extreme positions.
Yeah, I don't know if it's treason, but it smells like it.
For more, is one of the few Republicans who has been pushing for this from the very beginning. South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace, so good to see you.
I know of no other president who's been as supportive of women as Donald Trump. 2 weeks ago, I called President Trump because a young woman out of Virginia needed brain surgery. And he was the only person in the country that I could call and get help. 12 hours later, she was approved for her brain surgery. What we do want to do is get to the bottom of it and give these women justice. They've been fighting for 30 years. And I see this as justice, not just for them, but for women like me and other women who are survivors who might not ever get justice. This is a very symbolic vote for us tonight. We want to get it to the president's desk without any more delays.
Hakeem's team sent an email to Epstein asking for money and inviting him to dinner, telling the pedophile that Hakeem was the Brooklyn Barack.
We know from Jim Comey and any other number of, investigations at Trump's direction that this is just about redirection and smearing the reputations of people who are critical of him.
U.S. intelligence believes the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the murder of a Washington Post journalist. President Trump apparently, though, does not.
The president welcomed the Crown Prince to the White House today and angrily defended him when a reporter asked about the murder.
President Trump reaching out today, holding multiple meetings with the Crown Prince.
Welcomed to the White House with horses on parade, a military flyover, and a personal tour. Trump pulling out all the stops.
A visit that can best be described as ceremonial, commercial, and controversial. What were some of the deliverables that came out of this meeting today?
Well, the two leaders focused on praising the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman back at the White House for the first time since 2018.
I'm very proud of the job he's done. What he's done is incredible in terms of human rights and everything else.
Get this. He's sitting next to a man who was responsible for the sawing up of a reporter. And then he calls an ABC News reporter insubordinate.
President Trump bristling when I asked about that.
Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the worst in the business.
Instead, criticizing the journalist who was murdered.
You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Editorial headline is "Things Happen," which is what he said when was asked, well, what do you think about the fact that, he's been found to have chopped up this journalist? Things happen, he says.
But he knew nothing about it.
That was not the conclusion of the U.S. intelligence community, which assessed in 2021 that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman did approve an operation in Istanbul, Turkey, to capture or kill Khashoggi, who was a legal U.S. resident. Trump was asked today if his family's deep business ties to Saudi Arabia are prompting preferential treatment by the U.S. government.
What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot.
Does ABC know their parent company, Disney, just built a Disney Mouse castle in Riyadh? So Bob Iger can do business with the prince, but Trump can't?
They already do a lot. In September, a Saudi-backed developer unveiled plans for a $1 billion Trump Plaza development in the seaside city of Jeddah. Just yesterday, the Trump Organization announced a licensing deal with Saudi investors to build a luxury hotel in the Maldives. President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who raised $2 billion in investments from the Saudis, told 60 Minutes last month that all of these deals are not conflicts of interest. They're a diplomatic advantage, enabling him to build key relationships around the world, especially in the Middle East.
And just wait until ABC finds about our allies like Mexico and Iraq and the Philippines, just to name a few. They're not squeaky clean. Obama hosted Xi Jinping for a state dinner. That guy doesn't like a general. He just kills him.
Touring the grounds of the White House and making sure he noticed one thing. The former president, Joe Biden, is on the wall. But it's not him, it's that auto pen. Of course, Joe Biden famously once called MBS a pariah.
Trump never looks weaker than when he's groveling and sitting across from an authoritarian that he really envies, whether it's Putin or Kim Jong-un or MBS.
It's another league, Mr. President.
Mr. President. And Trump doesn't give a fist pump. I grabbed that hand. I don't give a hell where that hand's been. I grabbed that hand.
Trump made sure not to squeeze too hard. The prince needs to keep his hand loose for all the John Hancocks.
This is a man at this point, the only rational reason for why he's acting this way in the end is due to his family's business. They have several deals that are pending in Saudi Arabia, and that appears to be his priority because I can't understand any other rational justification for how he's operating.
I just really enjoy having a president invites these leaders in and the businesses, and we can see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to read reports about what's going on behind closed doors. We see it live on TV.
If you're in MAGA and you're America first, what the hell are you thinking today?
Why would the president invite someone who may have had a Saudi Arabian journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, who was also a contributor at the Washington Post, killed in 2018? A tragedy, yes, but the media make it seem like this guy was like a local Washington Post reporter based in Washington who was killed by the Saudis.
You're watching the fact that you have the White House and Congress. The only thing that they've done in the last 2 months is vote to release the Epstein files over the objection of the president. It is also a fact that the journalist that he was deriding when he was talking to the press yesterday was sawed into pieces, and the CIA under Trump had a report that linked it pretty directly to at least the Crown Prince being aware of it.
I look at it like this. When you're an Islamist and you dabble in jihadism and you write pretty fiery editorials, the chances, I mean, no one's justifying murder, but the chances of you dying a peaceful death in your old age decrease dramatically when you live like this.
To be that cowardly and say, we don't want to embarrass him, when you could easily say the thing that is a normal thing to say, which is condemn the killing of Khashoggi, he just looks weak. He looks like a very useful idiot being used, parroting the propaganda of MBS. In fact, making Khashoggi to blame in all of this.
A lot of people didn't like him. Very controversial.
Right. I mean, that's such a weak sauce argument, and he looks very small in that moment.
This was a Middle Eastern journalist who contributed pieces to the Post for less than a year. Doesn't make it any less of a tragedy, but they make it seem like it was Jake Tapper or something that the Saudi Crown Prince.
Then you put next to that the fact that you have a quasi-state dinner with the Saudis. Now remember, it was the Saudis who were on the airplane that crashed into our towers, killing 3,000 Americans.
Why would the president invite someone from the country that 15 of the 19 9/11 hijackers came from? Why would you invite that person to the White House?
And you have him talking to the Saudis about getting deals from us where we're going to let them have our F-35s on their soil. We're going to give them access to our AI technology when the Saudis themselves have said, hey, listen, what we don't get from you, we're going to get from China.
Shortly Shortly after the Crown Prince's arrival, a formation including F-35s flew over the White House. A show of force, but also a chance for the prince to check out a future purchase. The president says he green-lighted the sale of several F-35s to the Saudi government. The specific number, though, unknown. Critics say by giving the Saudis access to American-made military equipment, other countries may gain insight into U.S. defense capabilities.
On the eve of this visit, Trump approved a plan to sell F-35 fighter jets to the Saudis for the first time, despite Pentagon concerns that China, a Saudi ally, could try to steal the plane's technology.
There had been concern at some time in the Pentagon about giving the F-35s or selling the F-35s with that technology. Israel had raised concerns about it as well, that maybe China could eventually get that technology, or maybe it's not the best thing. What changed in the president's mind on that front?
Well, I think the Saudis have shown that they are valuable allies in the region. It was the Saudis who stepped up during the 12-day war with Iran, during the B-2 operation, Operation Midnight Hammer. During a time of stress, they were 100% behind the U.S.
A promise from Saudi Arabia to invest up to $1 trillion in the American economy, with the U.S. willing to sell their prized F-35 fighter jets. But some American defense officials have raised concerns about the sale, considered the most advanced fighter jet in the world.
Donald Trump is transactional. And if we didn't welcome Saudi Arabia in, China would have.
And yet we have Saudi Arabia, who undoubtedly is a valuable security partner for Washington and is working with us to develop a regional security architecture that has at times had a troubling relationship with China. In fact, we saw a Saudi-Chinese naval exercise just last month. That's not exactly a good look for a country that wants America's most advanced fighter.
The Crown Prince was asked about other controversies, including his country's connection to the September 11, 2001 attacks on America, and a CIA assessment that concluded he likely ordered the killing of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018.
At the same time, though, down more broadly, President Trump is looking to expand the Abraham Accords with normalized relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel, as the U.S. is at the same time pushing forward its peace plan in Gaza.
Donald Trump is transactional. Donald Trump is America first, and everything that Donald Trump does for the American public is American first. Saudi Arabia's got a whole lot of oil. And if we have a good relationship with Saudi Arabia, oil prices become more stable in this country, which then brings down inflation.
There is President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump at this dinner honoring MBS, who, just to remind everybody, Trump's own CIA said that MBS ordered the murder and dismemberment of a Washington Post journalist. And the first couple is right there, getting ready to honor MBS for coming to the United States.
U.S. President Donald Trump hosted a lavish dinner at the White House as Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman visited the U.S. Among the guests was football superstar Cristiano Ronaldo, who has been the face of the Saudi Football League since joining Club Al Nasser at the end of 2022, reportedly on a $200 million a year contract.
This was about securing a future of security and peace for the region and for the world. And today, President Trump continued in historic fashion the process he began in 2017 of uniting the world against extremism, against terrorism, against instability, against violence, and forming partnerships around prosperity, investment, peace, cooperation, and against radicalism.
One of the reasons that you have the activist wing of MAGA so upset is they're like, this isn't what we paid for. This isn't what we voted for.
The Crown Prince also promised to invest over $1 trillion in the U.S. economy, which is a good thing.
Prince pledging to increase the Saudis' investment in the United States from $600 billion to $1 trillion.
That guy right there, invited to the Oval to pop champagne over the Saudi deal, powers our ships, our jets, and our homes. Made in America with Saudi cash. And we're getting the kingdom addicted to American chips, so the Muslims don't buy China's AI. It's also about the P word. Peace.
Today, the kingdom raised that amount to $1 trillion. And as President Trump said, including in his remarks tonight at the dinner, that means more than anything else, jobs for Americans. This is the jobs president, Sean.
The other part, 9/11 families were understandably upset by this, by Donald Trump inviting the Crown Prince to the White House. But Donald Trump is transactional, and 9/11 was almost 25 years ago. 25 years after the Second World War, Japan and Germany were U.S. allies. Think about that.
Do you think the 9/11 victims' families' concerns will be addressed?
I hope and pray they're addressed. This was a monstrous attack on America, and we have to have accountability from Saudi Arabia. Why 19 Saudi Arabians were involved in this. And I'm very worried because of this close meeting that we're going to be selling the most advanced technological planes in the world, F-35s, 48 of them, to Saudi Arabia.
So what about Trump's personal interests? The Trump Organization, run by the president's sons, is involved in major real estate projects in Saudi Arabia, though today President Trump denied any conflicts of interest.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine.
Many critics, of course, argue that U.S. interests do not warrant today's state-like visit or even a visit to the Oval Office, period. 9/11 families, united, urged President Trump to, quote, ensure accountability for the role the kingdom's government agents and state-run institutions played in providing material support to al-Qaeda and the 19 jihadi hijackers who murdered our loved ones before any new agreements with the kingdom are made, unquote.